I'm having a bit of a one-on-one time finding out the best way to paint a wall today with Mark from Monarch. What are some key things that we need to keep in mind when we're prepping a wall?
Okay, well, we've done all the prep earlier that we needed to wash the walls down where you had to. We've filled all the imperfections, we've sanded them down. And what I want you to note now is we've put a little bit of undercoat on those patches.
So now here we are presented with the paint and buckets and brushes. Where do we start?
Okay, well, firstly, we need to mix up our paint. So we've used a nice flat stick to give that a nice mix. You don't use a screwdriver. Then what you do is you've lubricated your paint brushes that we discussed earlier. You spin out the water. We've washed our roller. So now what we do, we're simply going to pour this, and that makes it so much easier to pour. And again, we're not going to overfill our tray. So we're going to start cutting in and start where you feel comfortable so you're not overstretching or whatever.
Good to know.
And we dip our paint in like we did for our ceiling. And I'm actually going to use the skinny side of the brush, not the fat side, and I'm going to put it on about a ½ inch away before I cut in. Because what I've done now is I've taken the excess off the brush.
Yes, you
now,
have.
the quality brush will hold its shape. And I'm going to angle my brush and use the tip of this quality brush to let what I call the paint glide. That'll achieve a nice straight line as good as you can, and then you use the wider side of the brush to smooth it or feather it off.
Wow. How many times do you see when people are actually cutting in, loading up the paintbrush and putting great big globules that seep under the tape and just leave a mess?
And again, you get a cheap brush that flares everywhere and you're trying to cut a straight edge, it is impossible. Do yourself a favour and use what the professionals use.
We're just about done here, Mark.
All good?
All right, so up to the top section, but there's no tape. Are we doing freehand?
It's just that the big worry for DIYs is if they put masking tape on the corners, because it's a sealing paint and it's not a really strong paint, the masking tape tends to peel paint off. So what I prefer to do is, again, this is why it's important to use a quality brush that'll hold its shape. I'm going to show you the right way to cut in a nice, crisp, straight edge without using masking tape.
Freehand?
Freehand.
Oh, this I've got to see. Okay. All right, well, you're going to need a step ladder.
I'm going to need a ladder. We'll pop the ladder in here.
There you go, sir.
Okay. If you want to hold that for me, and we'll...
I shall be your bucket assistant. I'm going to move over this way.
We'll give it a go, okay? Now, I'll just do a little bit here for you so you can see. And again, it gets back to putting the paint on away from the edge first because I want less paint on my brush to give me more control.
Gotcha.
And I want to use a brush that's going to hold its shape. So now what we do very carefully and slowly is we just use the tip of the brush nice and slow to get a nice, crisp, straight edge.
Okay, well, are you going to do that whole section or do you game to let me have a go?
I'm game to let you have a go.
Are you? Really?
Why don't you get on the steps and have a go and see if you can replicate a straight edge like we're doing here?
Okay.
Look at this. You're doing it. Beautiful. Take your time. And see, the good thing is you can go back over it as long as you don't go too high and take your time, the brush will work.
So we're cut in, and now we're ready for rolling.
Correct.
At what point, at what part of a wall do you actually start the roll?
Good question. When you've loaded your roller, what you don't want to do is start way up high or way down low because you can't spread the paint. The best spot to start is right in the middle because you can roll the paint up and roll it down and it's easier to spread. So we start here and we roll up the wall a bit and down the wall a bit, come across. Now the tip here is how far does a loaded roller go?
Let me guess. 2 roller widths.
Beautiful. So let's load some paint up for you.
Okay, got it. All right,
start
so
in the middle of the wall.
Start in the middle, and then I'm going to work on even distribution up and down.
Nice and slow, just put enough pressure on the roller that you push it where you want it to go. Don't let the roller control you.
It's like riding a horse.
Perfect. So you reckon you can do this?
Totally.
Oh, that's great, because you know what? I'm out of here. See you, Leah.
Huh? That's all right. I'm quite enjoying myself. Bye, Mum.